Today we're going to continue our studies about prepositions. We've seen this list many times. You have this in your journal in the very back where we've been doing our grammar work. And we're going to be focusing on list number 1 because you have a quiz over memorizing these words for next week on Wednesday. So in class I gave you a copy of this study guide, and it can also be found at my website if you lose your copy and you want to print another one. It says on Wednesday, September 23rd, next week, you'll be asked to write the 24 prepositions from this list, number 1, from memory. The goal is that you'll be able to recognize them immediately in a sentence without even thinking about it. I compared that to knowing like your math facts. 2 times 2 is 4. You just know it. You're going to look at a sentence and see along and say, oh, that's a preposition. I have confidence that if you can memorize the 26 letters of the alphabet in kindergarten, then in the next 9 days, if you put some effort and time into this, you can study and memorize 24 words. And I don't believe it's going to take a whole lot of time. If you give yourself 5 minutes a day to start with, I really believe that if you put your efforts into this, you will be able to do this with no problem. So I'm going to give you a couple of different strategies to work with. Strategy number 1, we've talked a lot about our brain and how it works in chunks. It's not geared to just memorize a random list of 24 words. So we've got to think about how could we group these into smaller chunks. So what I did is I looked at letters of the alphabet. There are 10 that begin with an A, 9 that begin with a B, and then we have 5 in this what I call the deaf category, the DEFs. So then I could break this group of 10 into 2 smaller chunks. A group of 5 and a group of 5, and then a group of 4 and a group of 5. And I decided to keep these two together because beside and besides are almost exactly the same word. I just need to add an S to it. So what I would do is just start by saying them. I'm going to say this group of 5 until I know them. I'm going to say it again: about, above, across, after, against. And I'm going to keep saying it until I can do it from memory. I'm going to cover it up, and when I know them, my next strategy is to try writing them. And so on the paper that I gave you in class, there are lots of boxes. You can fold it along this crease so that you're hiding the words, and just try writing them. And when you can do 5 of them, then add the next 5. Okay? So then you've got along, among, around, as, and at. Do all 10 of those together. Say them again and again and again until you can do it without looking. When you can do it without looking, then try writing them. Okay, and then the next day you add in your B's. Okay, and then the next day you add in the next set of B's. And before you know it, you're left with your last 5. Okay, I am going to say that spelling is going to count. These are some high frequency words that you see and should be using in your writing when we talk about adding descriptions. So I'm going to say that spelling should count. The only ones that I think give us the most trouble are against, watching that A and I, and except, E-X-C-E-P-T. Those are the 2 that I see most people having trouble with. So then we're going to really look at, well, what are prepositions? So in your journal, the next blank page working from the back should be page -4. It might be -5 depending on which class you're in with me and how many pages of sentence analysis we've done. Either way, just working backwards from your notebook. I gave you this paper. It's got some sentences at the bottom, and we're going to work on the top half today and take some notes on what is a preposition. If you don't have this paper, then you can just write the notes. You'll see that you could just draw a line, maybe dividing your paper into 1/3 on this side and then 2/3 over here where you can copy down the notes. So what is a preposition? A preposition is a word that shows a relationship between a noun and some other word in the sentence. On Saturday, I'm going to the beach. I have highlighted here 2 prepositional phrases, on Saturday and to the beach. We've talked a lot about prepositional phrases start with a preposition and they end with a noun. To is a preposition and it ends with a noun. But what does that really mean? It shows a relationship. Well, this phrase, on Saturday, tells me when am I going. So it's got a relationship between Saturday and the word going. When am I going? On Saturday. Where am I going? To the beach. A relationship between going and the beach. This time, instead of answering when, it tells where I'm going. So most importantly, you need to just know the formula of a prepositional phrase. I compare that to math. If you know a formula, you can apply it to anything, and it always works. So we start with a preposition, and your prepositions you're just going to have to memorize. You have to know that a word is a preposition. So for example, on. You're allowed to have modifiers in the middle. You don't have to, but if you are going to have anything in the middle, it's going to be a modifier, an adjective or an adverb. On, the, small, round, and then I need a noun or a pronoun at the end. We call that noun or pronoun the object of a preposition. When we talk about nouns, nouns can be the subject of a sentence. But in this case, if it's at the end of a prepositional phrase, it's called the object of a preposition. On, the small round, table. So why do we need prepositional phrases? What do they do? If we look at this sentence, we've done this in class where we got rid of the prepositional phrases and we're left with the sentence, I'm going. When we add prepositional phrases, it adds description. Prepositional phrases are phrases or groups of words that act like adjectives or adverbs, and they modify other words in a sentence. So without these phrases, on Saturday and to the beach, I've got a pretty boring sentence that doesn't give my reader a whole lot of information. Okay, and so going is a verb, and so we have some adverbs. On Saturday acts like an adverb because it tells when I'm going, and to the beach acts like an adverb because it tells where I'm going. Adverbs modify verbs. We could also have prepositional phrases if they're modifying nouns, then instead of being adverbs, they're acting like adjectives. Oops. Okay, so as you study your prepositions, we're going to do some practice sentences over the course of the next couple weeks. We're going to talk next week about things that look like prepositional phrases. They look like they start a preposition, but they don't follow this formula because they don't have modifiers and nouns in them. They have something else. Okay, so just be working on studying your prepositions for your quiz next Wednesday.